In this introduction to Zoom, we will explore the available settings and default controls for meetings and recordings, review how to create a meeting and invite participants, and explore in-meeting controls. There are several ways that you can log into Zoom. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you how to navigate to the Zoom LR website and the steps that you will need to log in there. Later in the video, you'll hear about other ways you can log in, such as using the Canvas integration or Outlook or a computer desktop icon. However, this is the one that seems to be pretty fail-proof, and I would go with this one as your first option. Begin by navigating your browser to this address, https://lenore-rhine.zoom.us. From here, you want to click Sign In, the third option. You will be brought to Lenore Rhine's portal in order to authenticate you into the Zoom system. So use your LR username, which is your first dot last name for most people, and then the same password that you use to log into your email. Then click Sign In. In this next step from the drop-down, you'll see other products that Lenore Rhine subscribes to. Find lenore-rhine.zoom.us, select it, and then click Sign In. This is the screen that you will see whenever you log into Zoom. And today we're going to look at these 4 controls over here on the left. Mine all are preceded with the word My. I believe yours will just say Profile, Meeting Settings, Meetings, and then Recordings. Webinars may show up there, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So right now you can see that you have the option here if you wanted to add a profile picture. So I can click change, and you can select a JPEG or a GIF or a PNG image from your computer and put a picture of yourself up there. That's helpful, especially if you have a fully online class and you're communicating with your students via Zoom for them to actually have a photograph of you. Next, you'll see the personal meeting ID. This is the equivalent in WebEx of having your private room. So this meeting ID will be the same for all of your instant meetings. So if you were just to click connect or tell your students that you would like to have office hours, let's say, using Zoom, you can use this here. You can create your own number so that you'll remember it. However, the easier option is directly below it, called the personal link. You can see that mine starts out, and so will yours, with the https://lenore-rhine.zoom.us /my/ and then you get to customize this. By clicking Customize here on the left-hand side, you get the option to fill in these characters. I would recommend your first dot last name. It's the easiest way to remember it, and it kind of gives us some standardization. So if students know to go to my room by using the same configuration, they can assume that to get to your room, it would be the same beginning with a first dot last name. In any event, we do recommend that you make this something that is recognizable, such as your name or Dr. So-and-so, and not just something like cute little kittens dot more cute little kittens, just because it needs to be easily identifiable. So I'll click cancel since I already have that set up, and then you can take this link, drop it into your syllabus, and that anytime you have online office hours, students know that they can use this link time after time. It's not just a one-time meeting space. You can also use it if you need to invite a student. Let's say they're having trouble with an assignment and you want to look at it together. You can also give this out rather than creating a meeting. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. Right now you have a user type that is just a regular meeting, and you can have up to I think it's 100 participants, despite the fact that it says 500 here, that you can have within your course. If you have a use for a larger webinar, let's say that you are bringing in guest speaker in another class or whatever the case is, and you need the capacity for more than 100 students, just email me or Devin, and either one of us as the administrators can give you temporary access to a webinar account, which allows up to 500 participants. And we only have 3 of those for the institution, so we give them out as a request, and then we'll put you back at the regular meeting one, because that should meet your needs most of the time. One thing I want to draw your attention to here is the sign-in password. You'll notice that you do have an edit button, which should signify that you can change this. Please do not. Zoom authenticates you using the same system and password that you use for entering the portal, MyLR, Canvas, email, they're all the same, and if you change it here, I'm not really sure what will happen. I'm pretty sure that you won't be able to get back into Zoom. So please ignore this if for some reason you forget your Zoom password. Again, just a reminder that it's the same as you would use in order to log into those other LR-related products. But if you do forget it, please call the help desk for that reminder rather than try to change it here. So those are the highlights here on the first account, which is the profile account. As long as you have those set up, that's you're ready to get started. The next thing we're going to look at is my meeting settings. So meeting settings allow you to have some defaults that you will set prior to using Zoom for the first time, and then you never have to go back and tweak these if you don't want to. So Devin and I made sure to go through and identify some default controls that we feel would be best and most commonly used amongst most people. However, you are able to go in and change most of these settings. I'll let you know the ones that you cannot change. Unless I tell you that, assume that they are able to be changed. So we're going to walk down here. The first one is to schedule a meeting. So right now we have it so that the host video does not start on. So you have the option to turn your video on, but it does not automatically start for you. And same with the participant video. Both of those are disabled so that you cannot, or so that they can't, the videos won't be prompted right away to begin. If you feel that you are always going to use video and want it ready to go, you can change that status just by clicking on the button. It turns blue and then it updates and it will automatically connect for you. You'll notice that the audio type here is both telephone and computer audio. So this gives your users the option to dial in or to use the audio from the voice over IP from their computer. These next 2 options, to join before the host and require a password for personal meetings, are 2 things that we have set as default. So right now, participants can join before the host arrives. So if you would join, you would be able to go into the room and you could chat with whoever else is in there, and they would be able to hear you and you could hear them if you have the audio turned on even before the host of the meeting comes in. And the reason we thought this might be a great default is because if students are nervous about making sure that they have the right microphone selected, or if they've never used Zoom or a video conferencing tool before, it gives them a sense of confidence to get in 5, 10, 15 minutes earlier than everyone else so that they can kind of test those things out and to alleviate some of their anxiety. You can shut that off if you would like. You can also require a password for the personal meeting in order for attendees to be able to join before a host. And remember that the personal meeting is that static address that is my/first.last name. So it's not a general meeting that you would set up. It's just for the personal meeting. And we have that on so that someone just couldn't go to your room and use it for whatever purposes. They would have to have a requirement for a password. We have it set so that the calendar integration is automatically checked, and that means that you can use your account through Outlook in order to schedule Zoom meetings. So I'm going to click on my Outlook email, and you can notice up here at the top these two buttons. I have the ability to schedule a meeting through Zoom or to start an instant meeting. And what's nice about scheduling a meeting is that once I fill in, I can change some of these options and click continue. And once I do that, it populates everything here already into my account. I can then send this meeting invitation out to colleagues, and it will show up as an appointment on their calendar. So it's very easy to set up a Zoom meeting, very easy to join it that way as well. You'll see that there's a few other options here that you can choose. So we don't have them set as default, and I'm just trying to hit the highlights here for you. In meeting basic controls, right now, you can see all these blue lines over here. It is default that these are turned on. So the chat window is available. So you can send a chat message to all of your participants. And the one below it, private chat, means that your students can also send messages amongst each other, one another, and they're not, you won't be able to see them. So it's a private chat. Again, we have this turned on. If for some reason you don't want students to have that one-to-one capability, that they can't chat back and forth with one another, you can turn this off. We also have the auto saving of chat. And that means that if you are recording your session, it will automatically save any chat conversations that are going on. So if you're sharing links or students are giving information and you'd like to save it, you don't have to worry about remembering to copy and paste the chat before you leave the room. It will automatically save for you. Just know that you have to be recording the meeting in order for those chats to be saved. Play sound when participants join or leave. This is default so that it is heard by the host only. So as a student comes into the room or leaves the room, it's a doorbell sound, a digging sound that you will be able to hear. If you are in a classroom, let's say streaming to another classroom, the students there may also be able to hear that beep only because you are sharing, they would hear it through the microphones in the room. And again, you have the option either to turn that off or to enable it to be heard by the host and all attendees as well. File transfer means that students can share, upload files into the chat. So if you have a student who created something in Microsoft Word and you would like all students to be able to have access to that, you can share it through the chat. Other important things I want to point out here is the co-host option. You can designate a co-host for your course or for your meeting so that if you feel that you may be late a class or if you're team teaching or if you have to leave early and you're concerned about that, about running the meeting on your own, you can designate a co-host who will have the same controls as you do. There is a polling feature available. You have the ability to put an attendee on hold. So all of your attendees would be in the room together, and let's say that you're using Zoom perhaps to conduct an interview, and you may want to put the interviewee on hold so that you can have a quick discussion and then unmute them. They won't be able to see or hear what you're doing. However, again, with anything, just be careful just in case that option you think it's checked and it's really not, or for some reason it didn't operate in the way that you thought it would. Just be careful with that, but know that that is a setting that you have control over. Scrolling down here, we have it set so that it will show the Zoom windows during a screen share, that you have the ability to use the annotation tools. So I'm going to hover over here, and you'll see down here at the bottom I have the ability to annotate. And when I click that option, it allows me to draw on the screen. I can spotlight. So as I move my mouse, it will allow me to spotlight different areas. Say, look here, look here, look here. I can erase that by hand, or I can click clear all drawings and it will clear everything all at one time. You can also save your annotations. So let's say that I am showing you a PowerPoint and I want to annotate or highlight some of the on-screen images. I can do that and then save the image to my computer so that I can clear it and go on to the next one. It's also enabled right now so that your students have the ability to use these annotation tools, and for them to be able to use them across the top of their screen. I believe it says options. I'm going to check on that because I can't remember the exact lingo, but they would click on that. I think it's view options, and then they would see the annotation tool and they would be able to annotate. You as the instructor or the host of the meeting have control to take that off of them or to delete anything that is inappropriate as well. The whiteboard, which allows you to share whiteboard and annotation tools, is automatically checked, as is remote control sharing. So you may ask a student to take a remote control and navigate through a PowerPoint you created and explain a water cycle or something. So they will be able to take control of your computer. This is also helpful too if you have a student that's having trouble navigating Canvas or another tool that you've asked them to use, where you can take control of their computer, maybe demonstrate for them how to do it, and then give that control back to the student. During a remote control session, if you ever need to pull that permission back, you can do that in the same place where you give the remote control, and I'll show you that here in a moment. It's also default that students can, or participants can, share nonverbal feedback. So scrolling down, we're getting to the in-meeting advanced controls. You have the ability to create a breakout room, which will split your students into their own Zoom room where they can collaborate on a document, they can chat with each other, they can speak to each other, they can share videos. So it's kind of the equivalent of working, asking students to break into small groups in a classroom where you are face-to-face. Once you assign these breakout rooms, you can do that in two ways. You can ask Zoom to automatically randomly divide the students into, let's say, 5 equal rooms, or you can actually decide who you want working together and put them in rooms together. Once the participants are in a room, if they want to call you into that room, there's a button that they can press and you will get a message that says so-and-so would like you to come into their room, please click to accept. And then you can be pulled into that room so that you can be part of that discussion. Then you exit that room, come back out, and you can go check in on other students as well. You don't need an invitation to join the room, so you can automatically get into any room you create, or students can also have the ability to call you if they have a question. See these other options that are available, but I'm going to scroll down in the interest of time and make sure that I highlight the ones that we think will affect you the most. This option to use HTML format if you're using the plugin, Outlook plugin, that was where I showed you earlier where you can create a Zoom meeting using your Outlook, and enabling the HTML means basically that it keeps a format where you have the Zoom logo. It's spaced nicely so that it is easy to read, and that's what that button does. So I would recommend keeping that one enabled. Screen sharing. This allows the host as well as the participants to share their screen or content during your meeting. So right now I'm sharing my screen with you. I could also grant that access to any one of you so that you could share your screen as well. Scrolling down to the email notification, most of these, actually all of these, are set by default. So when attendees join before a host, the host can be notified. When a meeting is canceled, the host and the participants can be notified. When someone schedules the meeting, you also get a message, and I'm going to show you that here in a moment. Under Other, there is an option, it's called Schedule Privilege, and this allows you to grant one of your colleagues the ability to schedule a meeting for you. This may be useful to you in some scenarios if you have maybe an office, if someone in your office schedules meetings for you or would be willing to do that or needs to do that if you're absent, whatever the case. You can grant someone else scheduling privileges so that you don't have to share your Zoom password in order for them to get in and do that. So you can see by clicking this button here, it allows you to put in an email address or more, and then you click Assign. So Devin Fisher is able to schedule meetings for me, which is helpful because if we're having a Zoom or a Canvas training, he can create that and automatically have it so that when I log into Zoom, I see that the meeting has been scheduled, and I can also schedule for him as well. So those are two little things that we didn't have available to us in our last software and can be helpful to you. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. And I want to show you the other two tabs and what they contain. So again, we're in the meeting settings. The meeting tab is what we just looked at, and that's the bulk of control that you have in Zoom. The rest of the options aren't as robust or as plentiful as the meeting controls. So there isn't too much more here. I'm going to click the recording tab, and the recording tab allows you to have some control over how and what is recorded. You'll notice that this section here, the local recording, it is set to be turned off and it's locked by admin. So this is one thing that you cannot change. And that means that you'll see underneath it that the cloud recording is enabled. If you were to record a session, it's recorded in the Zoom cloud and it resides there rather than a local recording, which means on your computer. Not only do instructors have the option to use Zoom, but it also is for our students, and we felt that this would be a good move to have them have everything recorded in the cloud. Devin and I, as the administrators, do have the option to go in and see any meetings that have been recorded and to access them. We don't do this. I've said many times, I promise you, we do not sit around and go through and watch your meetings. However, if we would need to check on something, troubleshoot, if someone asks us to, we can get into those. So just know that they are available. They are available to us, but we don't go in by practice. A local recording would mean that it was only on your computer and that no one else would have access to it. So the options that are available for cloud recording, we ask it to record the active speaker with shared screen, meaning that as I'm speaking or any of your other students are speaking, it's recording the voice. It's also recording the screen that is sharing. So it would record my screen, or if you gave your students control to share, it would then record their screen. You have the option to record an audio-only file, and again, to save the chat messages from the meeting. You can click all of these if you'd like, and then once you actually create a recording, you can go in and choose which ones you want to download or that you want to make available to your participants. And I'm going to demonstrate that here in a moment. These are the advanced cloud recording settings. Probably the one in here that you'd want to know about is the audio transcript. So an audio transcript is made as I'm speaking. It's fairly accurate. It's definitely not foolproof, but it does a pretty good job. This is super helpful if you want to, or when you want to, go back and find something that happened in the class, but don't want to watch the whole video. So I mentioned the word water cycle earlier. I could go through my transcript, do a search for water cycle, and it will take me to the point in that video where I mentioned it. So it's a great tool for students to go back and review a conversation or an explanation that happened during class without having to watch the entire recording again. I'll scroll down. We do not have the setting set to automatically record a meeting, but if you feel that every time you're going to have a Zoom meeting you want it recorded, you can turn this on, toggle it on, so that it automatically records and you don't have to remember to press the control button. Right now it's set to auto-delete your recordings, that is, by or at 120 days, and that is something, again, that's locked by the admin that you can't change. So you want to make sure within that 120-day window that you download any meetings that you would want to revisit or save. And in a moment, I'm going to, first I want to go over the telephone option, and then I'm going to go into the recordings and show you what that looks like so that you can see some of these options in action. Scrolling to the top, the final tab here is telephone. And the telephone option that we have selected is to show international numbers on the invitation email. And what that will do is down here, you see this little pencil edit button. It allows you to display a toll-free number for students that may be originating in another country other than the United States. So let's say that you have a student that you know is studying abroad in France. You can click the France button and click Save, and then it will add France to the meeting settings so that that student will see their dial-in number. To undo it, you just click the X and save. All right, so as promised, the recordings. I'm going to skip over the My Meetings option over here on the left-hand side and click on Recordings so that I can show you what that looks like. You'll see that there is a Canvas Commons file here that I recorded. You'll see that the date was on October the 25th. You'll notice that it counts down for me, and it will say that I have 43 days left in order of my 120 in order to download that. So it helps you keep track. And then I asked it to record 3 different files while I was recording. And you click on that and you'll see you have 3 options. You can download and share the shared screen with the speaker view. So that would be in an MP4 format so that you get the audio and the video. And you can see that that's 61 megabytes. Let's say that you have a student that wants to listen to a lecture that you created for them via Zoom, and they are in their car. They might want the audio only so that they can play it on an MP3 player. So the audio only is an MP3 file. You can see that it's much smaller than the shared screen and then the speaker view. And then there's also an audio transcript that you can download. And there's many, many ways to share this. You can click the copy shareable link and then paste that into an email and send that out to participants. You can download this to your computer. You can also click the link, which copies it to your clipboard so that you can paste it somewhere. You can also click to download the 3 files, and it will ask you to save everything on your computer, and you can do that as well. The last option that we're going to quickly look at is the meeting. Meetings allows you to see what meetings are scheduled, which meetings you have had previously, and then to access your personal meeting room. So to schedule a new meeting, you will click Meetings and then Upcoming Meeting, and then click to schedule a new meeting. Give it a topic, a date and time, a duration. If this meeting is going to recur, you can click this button here and then you get some extra options about the occurrences. The rest of these, because you've actually already made these set in your default, you don't really need to change these. You can. If let's say that for this one meeting, even though by default you want the participant to join before the host, you can uncheck this button so that for this particular meeting, no one can join before you do. And then once you click Save, your meeting will show up in your scheduled meetings. And previous meetings show you the other ones that you have that you've participated in. And then your personal room, this is again the room that you can use that with the address stays the same. It's a static address, and that you can put this into your syllabus as a meeting room that students will always know how to get to. That is a tour of the settings, at least in Zoom. I want to show you a couple things while you're hosting a meeting that you will have access to. Down here at the bottom of my screen, if I hover over this, you can see that right now I am sharing my screen with you. I could click New Share, and right now I'm sharing my main screen with you, meaning that whatever I see on my screen, you see on your screen. Let's say that I only wanted to show one window and I didn't want you to be able to see anything else. So let's say I'm sitting here broadcasting to you and I would get an email right now. My email would pop up at the bottom of the screen, the notification, and you would be able to see that because I'm sharing my main screen. If I clicked something like meeting information here on this Firefox option, you would only be able to see that Firefox window. You wouldn't see any notifications that pop up on my screen. It's very limited. So know that you have the ability to really hone in on what students are able to see. This other option here to share computer sound, this is important if you are going to play let's say a YouTube video, for instance, for your students. If you don't check this, it will not broadcast through your students' audio. They will only be able to hear it, maybe if they're able to hear it through the speakers in the room. So in order for the students to hear it best, it's important that you click Share Computer Sound, and then you can click Share. You'll also notice that this is where my annotation tool is. And then if I click More, it gives me the option to take away that annotation control. I'm going to send myself an invitation to this meeting so that we can have another participant in the room so that I can show you what the chat looks like. Now that we've gone over the back end or behind the scene features, let's go into the Zoom meeting and I'll show you a couple other controls that you have there as well. So if you'll draw your attention to the bottom of the screen, if I move my mouse and I click somewhere else, that bottom bar may disappear for you. You can see that it goes. You just need to make sure that you move your mouse down towards that area and it will reappear for you. So some of the options that you have here will go from left to right. First, you can see that your microphone is working because you can see the little green indicator going up and down to know that I'm speaking. Right here, I can change my input microphone. So if you're in a room or using equipment at home and you have multiple microphones, this will allow you to choose the microphone. You can also change your speaker here. You can also test your microphone and speaker here as well. So anything related to audio you can find in this menu. The video. Same thing, you can change the video here and select which one is showing. And then the video settings give you a little bit more information. There's options that you can choose in here. This allows you to also access other areas as well, such as the general side. Incidentally, while we're here, this is an important option. Right now, you were able and are able to see my meeting, the Zoom windows, and when I'm desktop sharing, I have that enabled here, share Zoom windows and desktop sharing, so that you can actually see this down here. So that would be important if you're teaching someone how to use Zoom, because normally they wouldn't be able to see this. So I'm going to click that off. Invite, so if you create a meeting on the fly, or if you forget you were going to invite a colleague and want to do that, click invite, and then you can click default email or another email, and it will walk you through sending out that invitation. Manage participants will give you the participant list of everyone in the room. It's only me, so we'll just see my name. You can see that I'm recording, and that's what that little cloud is with the red dot. You can see that I'm speaking and that I do not have my my webcam turned on. If a student does not mute themselves, or if they step away from the computer and their dog starts barking, you as the host have the ability to just hover here and you can mute that person. Again, I mentioned the polling features here. You can just add a question and give that to your students to get some formative feedback. The share option, again, I'm sharing my screen with you. An advanced sharing options will allow you to get a little bit more over control about who can share. The chat, remember before I told you that there would be the option to send a chat to everyone in the room, or if there were other people in this room, this drop-down menu would list everyone else and I could send a private chat to someone. And that's useful if a student maybe has to leave early. They would send a private chat to you as the instructor that says, I'm sorry, I have to go, instead of announcing that in front of the class. One thing I did not draw attention to, which I just noticed up here, we talked about the controls that the participants have to give feedback, and those are located right here in the participant tab. So there's a yes, no, go slower, go faster, thumbs up, thumbs down, applaud or clap, and a coffee cup meeting that they need a break, and then away. And those are just options where students can kind of give you an idea about how they're feeling. Maybe establish something at the beginning that says, please only use those when I ask you to. It might be highly annoying to you if you are teaching a class and they're clicking the go faster button, giving you that feedback. So you may want to tell them that you would like that feedback, but only when you elicit it. Down here again at the bottom, we have the pause and stop recording. So that's where you would start it. Pause recording is a great feature if you are streaming to another location and let's say the class is 3 hours. You want to take a 15-minute restroom break, food break. You can pause the meeting so that it doesn't just record dead air. And then when you're ready, you just resume. The closed captioning, this would require someone to type in the closed captioning, or if you have a third-party service that's paid for, you would be able to integrate that here. And then finally, this is where you would access your breakout rooms that we talked about earlier. Again, you can say that I want to assign, if we had 5 participants, into 2 rooms, and it will break them up. You can do that automatically, or you can manually choose who you want to be in rooms together. I believe that those are the highlights of using Zoom. Again, we looked at the behind-the-scenes settings that are going to be default for you. Once those are set up and you've gone over those the first time, you can sort of forget about those because they'll just run for you in the background, and then you simply have to create your meeting and then just join your meeting and make sure you invite your participants. Thank you all. I appreciate you attending, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and you can also contact Devin, and we will get back to you and help you troubleshoot. Thanks again.